Hello, Jen and Claire. Thank you so much for chatting with us today. We know that travelers, when they get back to it again, will be looking for experiences that are meaningful and exclusive. We certainly have an incredible variety of experiences with Luxury Gold. And specifically speaking to our VIP experiences, I was hoping you could speak a little bit more about some of those experiences that have impressed you.
Absolutely. Um, I'll start off with this one because I'm so excited. I love our experiences, and I cannot wait to get back out there and live them again. One of my favourites takes me to Egypt, to Luxor, where our travelling concierge, all of our travelling concierge in Egypt are certified Egyptologists. And as the sun sets over Luxor, our Egyptologist takes us to the temple where you can see the beautiful colours just wash over the temple. It's a sight to see. The temple itself was constructed in 1400 BC and is incredibly well preserved. It's the site, well, they thought it's the site to be where the kings were all crowned. It certainly feels like it's fit for a pharaoh. As the crowds clear out and the temple's closed for the evening, our guests are given special VIP entry, just them alone in the temple. The giant columns are way too big for you to wrap your arms around. It's absolutely huge, and the whole place is lit up and ours to explore. It feels hauntingly special, and it's a memory I'll never forget, and I can't wait to share it with our guests.
It's certainly one that's on my list. I'll tell you, Claire, it's at the nearly the very top, I would imagine. And for you, Jen, what would you say would be one of your favorite experiences?
Well, last year, I should say September 2019, I was
Mhm.
lucky enough to go and enjoy our Imperial Rajasthan journey in India. And one of the places that we go to is the city of Jaipur, which is incredible on its own. It's busy, it's loud, it's all the things that you want your Indian experience to be. And our guests go to visit the city palace. So this is one of the main sites that you would go to see if you were visiting. And so it's usually quite busy. However, our guests go up and they see this big giant door. Within the door, a little door opens and our guests all go through a tiny door, all on their own, no lines. And then they go and have a private tour of the palace. And then they're stopped in one of the Maharaja's living rooms. I say
Wow.
one because there are several, of course. And first, they get to see family photos, like they're literally inside their house. And they go, I like to say it because it's true, they go behind the velvet ropes. And you can see all the other people kind of peering around, looking at where our guests are because no one else can get in there. And that's where they're served an Indian inspired high tea. And they get to sit in one of these living rooms and relax while they're served their high tea for the day. And this is unique and exclusive to Luxury Gold. It was so cool.
It's amazing. I can't wait to travel to India once again with Luxury Gold. I recently myself had an experience quite incredible on our Ultimate Italy journey, and it was at the Doge's Palace. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a huge fan of history, and I love hearing stories about the merchant royalty that ruled Venice. And what an incredible opportunity to have the Doge's Palace all to ourselves. We had 21 people in my group. We were all able to wander through and take time and really absorb the quiet and have self reflection and photos without people that are spiking your lens every few seconds. I'll tell you, it was really an incredible experience and something that I would do again and again if I had the opportunity. Now, Claire, I know that you've got another one for us, and this
I
one is a very special one in Austria, isn't it?
absolutely. This is just such a beautiful experience again. And I do love our VIP behind the scenes entry to places that when they're closed to the public, because it does create an entirely different feel of the place when you're just there with your little group by yourselves. It feels spectacular. One of my favorites is absolutely on our Harmony of Central Europe journey. And we take a private guided walk through the former summer home of the Habsburg family. It's the Schönbrunn Palace. You get to walk in the footsteps of 6-year-old little musical prodigy Mozart and an after hours visit to the Baroque palace. And one of the things that made me realize just how special it was, and I know that I worked to create these beautiful experiences for our guests, but when we sent our marketing team there to take some photography of the place, that if the wonders of technology are working, hopefully you can see if when we sent the marketing team there to take the photography there, and they were with the group, And they just kept calling me and saying, "This is absolutely incredible. This is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. This is amazing." And I'm like, "Stop calling me to tell me that and just take the pictures." And I was just so excited by the fact that they could feel it, and they were so excited by by how the faces of the guests were lit up because they were able to just enjoy the beauty and the majesty of the palace without the crowds. And that to me just really brought home how important it is that we can create these magical moments for our guests.
And anyone who's visited Schönbrunn Palace at the height of tourism season knows that it's just so incredibly wildly popular that hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of people visit every day. What I really truly appreciate about these VIP experiences is that quiet time, that time to wander, feeling like you're the only ones who are in the palace.
For sure.
I also know that there is a special personality that we include in our chairman's collection experiences. And speaking of Austria, this particular princess holds a special place in our heart. I was wondering, Claire, if you could speak to us a little bit more about Princess Anita.
Absolutely. Our Chairman's Collection are a series of departures, of special departures within each trip series that we have that are focused on meeting someone absolutely incredible. We use the connections of our founder and chairman, Mr. Stanley Tolman, who brings us together with some incredible inspirational icons in different countries. And one of our iconic luxury gold chairman's collection experiences is where we meet Princess Anita von Hohenberg in her Austrian family home, Artstatten Castle. It's absolutely exquisite, and we have a private drinks reception with Princess Anita. It's an opportunity for us to learn about her Habsburg heritage. And the heritage of the Habsburg Empire is incredible. It was a family with a motto of making love, not war, and they ruled across lands stretching across all of Europe. As a direct descendant of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, whose assassination in 1914 led to the outbreak of World War One, Princess Anita has a wealth of stories to share and is a charming guest favourite. I can't wait for you to have the opportunity to meet her when you come to Austria with us.
What an extraordinary experience. And certainly, as you say, it's an experience that certainly is our guest favorite. But I also know that there's another experience which is also equally as popular. And I'm hoping, Jen, you can tell us a little bit more about having a lunch with a duchess in her English castle gardens.
Yes, it's a tough life on Luxury Gold when you have to go and meet the Duchess in the morning. So on our British Royale and our Castles and Kingdoms journey as well, our guests are invited to Alnwick Castle and get to meet the Duchess and her head gardener, of course, because it's important that both are there to walk through her gardens, and you get to hear the story of her family, which is the Percy family, which has been at the castle for over 700 years. The castle itself is over 950 years old, so it's a highlight for anyone to visit. But it's become more famous in recent years due to Harry Potter, a lot of Harry Potter. But our guests get this very private, intimate experience of walking through the gardens, learn about the family, and then, of course, they finish up by having a three-course lunch with the Duchess. It's really
Incredible.
absolutely just completely different. Something you could never do on your own.
I think for anyone who follows royalty and the royal family, and especially in the UK, I really do think that this is going to be something that'll be extra, especially incredibly personal for them to be able to have time with the Duchess. And I'll let you know that you talk about having an opportunity to dine with royalty. For me, food truly makes a journey. I know that when travel, I love to explore the culinary delights of a destination. And for me on Ultimate Italy, I reveled in fine Michelin star dining on the island of Capri, rustic farm to table experience, a cooking class in a Tuscan villa, your choice dining evenings where I could select from top rated local establishments, wine tastings, and al fresco lunch in the beautiful Tuscan hills.
Jen, I know one of your favorites is the Spanish cooking class. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I love a cooking class in general because I think it's such a fun experience for our guests. But one of our Spanish cooking class, which takes place in Seville, is they start the morning at a local market. And one of the best ways to connect to a local community is to go to the market in the morning and see how the locals shop, what's all the seasonal food. So they get to taste different things that may be in season there first and meet some of the vendors. And then, of course, we put them to work, as you can expect, because they have to make their lunch. But it's really fun. They work with professional chefs also to make the chefs make sure that the food turns out well so that everybody gets to enjoy lunch. It's a really great bonding experience. It's also an opportunity for our guests to learn a recipe that's local. Again, always with the seasonal and sustainability and working within the season for ingredients and dishes. They get to keep the recipe. And then, of course, they all sit down to have a nice big lunch with wine and relax. And that's on their second full day in Seville. So it's a really relaxed, wonderful experience. And because they all get to attempt to make the food together, it's a really great bonding experience for the guests. Like it really brings everyone together. So I love a good cooking class.
I love that. I love that. Sorry, Brad. I'm just so excited about food, and we've got so many beautiful dining experiences with Luxury Gold. You touched on the beautiful Mama restaurant at Capri earlier, which is a Michelin star restaurant. We have Michelin star dining on all of our trips that have Michelin star restaurants in those countries, and top rated restaurants everywhere else. We've got so many beautiful dining experiences. But for me, luxury isn't luxury unless you've experienced all that there is to offer. So one of the things that I love about the fact that we really mix it up and have things like the cooking classes and our Michelin star dining experiences, but also things like street food walking tours, because it's important that you get to taste all different flavors on your trip, and a street food walking tour to me is just such an incredible way to get the feeling of a place as well as the flavors of the place together. And my favorite street food walking tour, I'm going back to India for this, is Delhi. It absolutely blew my brain when I had the street food walking tour with our local chefs for the first time. We've got some chefs who are so passionate about making sure that they can bring up talent through the ranks, that they go out and they search the streets to find the best street food vendors ever, and then they help you to understand how your palate works with Indian flavors. And it was just like magic. I mean, I would have a bite of a curry and then try something to balance my palate, and he'd say, I'm going to take the flavor from whatever you think it is now, shoot it up to a 10 in terms of hotness, and I'd eat something else, and then I'd have the curry again, and my palate would be on fire, and then I'd try something else and I'd have the curry again. It wouldn't have any heat in it at all. It was always the same curry. It was just magical. And it's really important that you can learn about your palate and how to manage your palate when you're dining in somewhere different and has different cuisines than you're used to. And it's also incredible to be able to know that these chefs have been through all these street food vendors. They've worked with them to make sure that they're living up to the current well-being protocols as well as the food safety standards. So it means that you can have a street food tour, but know that it's already been taken care of in terms of food safety standards. And that to me brings the best of both worlds together. It means that you can try things that you would never have potentially felt safe enough to try if you were traveling on your own. But with our chefs on board to be able to help you out, you have an incredible gastronomic experience on the streets of Delhi. I love it.
I've been lucky enough to be able to do that foodie walk as well, and it was incredible, and places you would have never have found on your own. And one of the best things about having someone take you around on a street food exploration anywhere is because street food can be quite intimidating. You just walk by it and you're like, I want to try it, but I don't know what to try. So to have someone there to guide you and help you, especially early on in a journey, it's really helpful, because then throughout the rest of the trip, you already have an inkling of things you want to try as you travel. So very fun.
Sorry, I
I
couldn't
love it.
help it, Brad. We had to talk more about food. You know, we're massive foodies, Jen and I, so we can't help it.
Of course, me too. And listen, I've been on quite a few of the foodie walks with Luxury Gold in many different destinations. And I agree with you. I think that it's something so important to experience and understand, because it really truly is the foundation of the diet, really, for the local people. And it certainly gives you the light and the shade between, the finer Michelin star dining, of course, all the way down to the street food, and realizing that both are exceptional and both are delicious, and they really give you an understanding of the history and the people, and really what drives the vitality of a region. Yum. A practical question for you too, if I could, just from the audience perspective: how is this all going to work in our new normal? in terms of how do we dine, how do we manage the experience so that we observe all of the local protocols as well as all of the new standards that are expected when someone is in a restaurant.
I'll take this one, I think, Jen. um, the look, as we all know, that there's a massive amount of change that's happening in each of our countries as we travel through. As we start to open up, it is our priority to make sure that we absolutely stay on top of the local regulations. In order to make sure that that happens, we'll be having a wellbeing director on our journeys, and the wellbeing director is a new role whose job it will be to provide additional support and assistance during your travel, and to make sure that we're taking a proactive approach to your welfare while you're on trip. They'll be paying attention to the latest hygiene and physical distancing protocols all throughout your journey, including with all of our restaurants and our suppliers. I mean, many of restaurants at the moment have a maximum of 4 guests per table. And of course, anyone wishing to be seated with their travel partner only or even by themselves, we would facilitate that with absolute pleasure. They'll be making sure of things like there's no sharing plates or things that might have been regular before. We'll be making sure that we're shifting to live with the times that we're experiencing now. And they'll also be providing support for things like luggage management throughout the holiday to make sure that the handles are sanitized and taken care of. Our wellbeing director will be able to take you for early morning walks and enjoy the local community as well. So the wellbeing director will be there with an absolute primary focus on making sure that you have your well-being taken care of, whether that's at restaurants or any other kind of experience throughout your journey.
So glad that you mentioned the well-being director being up on the latest protocols, and we've worked very closely with the World Travel and Tourism Council as well as the WHO to make sure that we have all of the latest procedures and processes at hand. I was just wondering, just speaking further about how the well-being director is, of course, revolutionary for this industry and the travel corporation, how they will support someone that we know and love very well on our journeys already, the traveling concierge. Who'd like to take this one?
I'll take this one actually. So, one of the best parts about having this extra set of hands on board all of our coaches is that it allows our traveling concierge to stay focused where their hearts always are, which is with our guests. They are what makes the beating heart of all of our trips, and everybody knows this if you've ever had the experience of a traveling concierge taking care of you. Because of the ever changing landscape that we're all now living in, this allows them the time to get to know our guests and personalize the experiences and make sure that our guests are always just having the best time they possibly can and keep them up to date with anything that changes. So basically, the well-being director means that they update the traveling concierge with any changes, and our traveling concierge stays 110% focused on our guests' experience every moment of every trip. So that's a huge benefit for everybody. They'll also be helping, the well-being director will also help out our driver with additional cleaning and things like that. So again, our on-road crew just as a team is there to just make sure that our guests can have the best possible experiences.
Thanks, Jen. And really, I can't rave enough about our traveling concierge and everything they do to make all of the journeys for our guests so special. I tell a story about a couple that was on my ultimate Italy journey. And it just underlines to me exactly what the traveling concierge does to elevate the experience and give all of our guests an opportunity to make everything just extra special. Linda and Joe were celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary when they were on my journey, and they had talked to us very early. We got to know them, and the traveling concierge Elena had said, "Linda and Joe are here because they're celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary. This trip has always been something that they had aspired to do over the years that they've been together. This is their chance to really experience." Italy and all of the incredible splendor that they had imagined with luxury gold, and we're hoping that you can all step in and be their surrogate family while they're here. Well, I'll tell you what occurred during one of our experiences in the Tuscan Hills, I will never forget. And that was we were sipping all the fine wines that were being made. We were sampling some of the appetizers and getting ready to settle in for lunch. And we had such an incredible experience where a guitarist came out and started to strum away, and we were eating our lunch and really reveling in the music that was all the local hits as well as some classical favorites. And then a singer came out, and Elena came out and spoke to all of us and said, I have something special that I'd like to share with you, and that I know that Linda and Joe are celebrating their wedding anniversary today, and we wish you happy anniversary. I've brought in a singer who will sing some of your favorite songs. And the first one that we'd like to share with you is your favorite hymn, Ave Maria. And she said, what I'd like to do, if that's okay, is Linda and Joe, if you could do us the great pleasure of standing up and sharing a dance. And Joe, of course, had arranged this with Elena, the traveling concierge. And he took his wife's hand, and to this incredible melody of Ave Maria with the guitar strumming and the opera singer singing, they swayed in each other's arms. And I'll tell you, there wasn't a dry eye on that terrace. And then Joe, of course, being extra gracious, invited us all up to share a dance with them as we did. And it was just one of those very special things that we experienced as the sun was setting, as we were toasting Linda and Joe. Just one of those experiences again that really show us just what a traveling concierge can do for us when we're in destination. Okay, moving on. I know that we also have similar experiences that we coordinate and that we manage for our guests in some of the luxury hotels that are sprinkled through our journeys. I was hoping we could maybe highlight some of the hotels that are favorites in our collection. I'm not sure who would like to take this one first.
I'll start with this
Yeah,
one.
go, Jen.
Why not? Take me. I think I might be focusing on India. It might have been the last trip I did before the pandemic, so it's still alive in there. Well, in Udaipur, which is where our Imperial Rajasthan journey finishes, it's known as the City of Lakes, and it's the city itself is beautiful and stunning. But the hotel we stay at there is the Leela Palace,
Mm.
and it is the number one rated resort hotel in all of India. So we get there, the coach stops, and they're like, don't worry, your bags will arrive later. We're like, oh, okay. And so we get on a little boat, and the boat takes you across the lake, and it's really calm and quiet. It's actually a man made lake. And as you arrive, music starts. Just there's musicians just
Out of
there,
nowhere.
out of nowhere, exactly. And then rose petals are falling on my head as I'm walking into the hotel, because there's also a person that's just there to throw rose petals on people as you arrive. And then you get into the hotel and you're greeted with a welcome drink, and everyone's sat down in this beautiful lobby. And then we're taken to our rooms, which are all lake view rooms, and you have a beautiful view of the palace off to the side. The only way to get to this hotel is by boat. So nobody's just walking in to have a look at the lobby. Like, the only people that are going there are the guests. Just out to the side, there's all these little huts set up, and it's like a spa village. And they're quite famous for their spas, and worth it, absolutely worth it. And then, of course, my favorite part was the food. So we actually have our celebration dinner at the hotel because they have a beautiful terrace, and as the sun goes down and the sunset is happening, you're sitting on the water, and our guests get to have this like elevated Indian food. It's just the perfect end. That hotel, like, you walk in, you're like, do I have to check out? I don't. I'll just stay. Thanks. I'm good.
Oh, it makes me want to travel right now.
Oh,
You
right.
know what hotel is good when you want to move in there. You're just like, yes, this is my home. I live here now. Yes, that's excellent.
Oh,
In
it
fact,
was
I love
fun
it.
too because they also had like entertainment. So as you every evening they have different entertainment happening in and around the pool, or and just a variety of cultural things that were happening right on site. So just yeah. Can we go? Are we allowed to?
Very soon. There's light at the end of the tunnel very shortly.
Yes.
And Claire, I know you must have a favorite as well.
uh, I can't choose favorites, Brad. That's like choosing for my children. It just doesn't. It's not right. But I've got one that I'd like to talk about today in my hometown, actually, of London. Hometown now. I'm Australian living in London, and it's the Rubens at the Palace in London.
Mm.
It's a beautifully restored historic hotel, and it looks out over the royal mews of Buckingham Palace, which is, for those of you unaware, it's where the royal family enter and leave from the palace by Buckingham Palace by, and it showcases amazing dining experiences and absolutely impeccable service. Even though it's in my hometown, I have had the pleasure of staying there for various reasons, and it really does just explain the difference between a normal hotel and a luxury gold level hotel. To me, the attention to detail is incredible. Every day when you get home from sightseeing, there's a little surprise in your room for you, a little tasty treat with an inspirational quote of the day that just makes you just smile when you see it, and then you try the tasty treat, and your world becomes a happier place indeed. Their thoughtfulness about how they treat their guests is absolutely impeccable. They know every guest name as they're walking through the door, and it just makes you feel like you're coming home. I absolutely love it. I Even though I live in the city, I do frequent the bar at the Rubens Palace, just between you, me, and the Gatepost, which is they've got beautiful restaurants and a lovely bar. And I sit and sometimes take Jen out for a glass of Hannibal, which is a beautiful red wine. We have a glass or two of that, and just thank our lucky stars that we can be in this beautiful location. So that is absolutely one of my favourites, and it's where I'm heading the second that I can after lockdown in London finishes. Absolutely.
I love it. Yes, I've also had the opportunity to spend some time at the Rubens, and it is absolutely fantastic. Something that I think we all look forward to when we travel to London. For myself, I'll tell you, I mean, we're just spoiled for choice, aren't we, when it comes to hotels? And I've stayed at the Chateau Lake Louise, I've stayed at Ashford Castle, I've stayed at the Hotel d'Angleterre in Switzerland. And maybe I'll just talk about that hotel because for me, it really has made an impression in my heart. I've been to Geneva many, many times for business and for pleasure. And I'll tell you that the Hotel d'Angleterre is always incredibly front of mind for me when I think of terrific service and personalization. They always greet me by my name. They always know exactly which room I like. And they always know when it's time for a bit of dinner and make sure that I'm always ready to go when it's time to hit the road again. The location is spectacular, overlooking Lac Le Mans and the Jet d'Eau. It has this incredible leopard bar with live music. There's everything that you could possibly want in the trappings of a fine and delightful hotel. It makes me want to travel to Geneva again and again just to experience their hospitality.
The breakfast room looking out over the lake, I mean, it makes me happy even thinking about it. I want to be back there.
100%. So, listen, I know that we've talked a little bit about our experiences. We've talked about how we have this most incredible team and as well as our dining and hotels. I'd like to speak a little bit more, if I could, and maybe just to finish, a little bit more about how we give back to the destinations that we visit. We, of course, have a collection of journeys called Make Travel Matter Experiences. And these incredible experiences bring personal connection and give our travelers an understanding how we can make a difference just by getting to understand the issues of the region and then sponsoring and supporting as best we can through the project work that we do. The ultimate Italy Make Travel Matter experience I'd like to highlight has quickly become a guest favorite over the last several years. In Perugia, the Laboratorio Giuditta Brazzetti is one of the few remaining traditional frame handweaving workshops in Italy. For generations, the workshop, now located inside this beautiful medieval church of San Francesco delle Donne, fabrics are woven using the original antique looms and following the same traditional techniques from nearly a century ago. The patterns they produce are reminiscent of the celebrated medieval and Renaissance textile traditions in Italy, and particularly in the Umbria region. Giuditta's great granddaughter, Marta, is a local cultural champion, helping to preserve what has become a unique and prized art form in peril. This is a beautiful and compelling experience, and travelers not only delight in the artisanal textiles, but understand just how important and fragile the art forms are, and why preserving them is so important to our cultural heritage. So, with that, I'm wondering if you have an experience that you'd like to share with us that is particularly close to your hearts.
I think I'll go first with this one. With Make Travel Matter experiences, it's important for anyone listening to realize that we select our Make Travel Matter experiences incredibly carefully. There's really, really stringent controls over what can make it to the level of a Make Travel Matter experience. The experiences have to not only make us feel really good about giving back to the communities that we're traveling through, but the experiences have to be absolutely meet a whole range of criteria on making sure that they meet the sustainable development goals outlined by the UN for sustainable travel. So by us earmarking something as a Make Travel Matter experience, you know that it really is giving back to the community in which we're traveling through. And one of my favorite examples of that is I'm going to steal the wind out of Jen's sails here. This is an India one for me.
You're
It's
switching to India. Okay.
yeah, no, we'll switch to India. We both love India, absolutely. I think that India is a real destination for well-traveled people. If you've been to a lot of destinations in the world, it's time for India. It's absolutely wonderful. And the Pink City Rickshaw Company, for me, really exemplifies everything that we're trying to achieve with Make Travel Matter experiences. It's a not-for-profit organisation, and it provides aspirational employment opportunities for about 200 odd women from very low-income households in Jaipur. By very low income households, I do really mean they're coming from the lowest of the low kind of income. These are women who would not have had access to an education. They would not have had access to even clean water growing up. These days, there's been a massive revolution in India in terms of their people's access to those kinds of clean water and sanitation and all sorts of things. So if you went to India 5 or even 10 years ago, the place is entirely different now. It really is moving at a rate of knots in terms of their ability to be able to provide basic services to the masses. But the women I'm talking about grew up in a different era. They grew up in a time where women stopped education at a very young age, if they had access to it at all. And these women are given the skills, or they apply, and then they're given the skills to be able to drive custom e-rickshaws. They're taught basic English, and they are then, once they graduate, are given shares essentially in the Pink City Rickshaw Company, so they become part owners in the business in which they're working in. All of the rickshaws are e-rickshaws, so they're all the best way to travel for the environment around the area. And when you're sitting in the back, all of our guests get in these little rickshaws with the female drivers who have come up through from the slums, essentially, of India. And our guests get in the back and they're guided around the Pink City, Jaipur, through in this way. And it's absolutely incredible, the reactions you get on the streets. People literally turn around and like, whoa, looking at you, because they're so surprised to see a woman at the helm of a rickshaw, and they're so surprised to see these women proudly showing off their cities. I mean, it's still a sight to behold. And for our guests, these women are so excited and proud to show off their country and their city in particular, and they're so excited to even have the job that they're in. They're not the best guides in the world. They're not chosen because they have the best command of the English language, but their excitement and enthusiasm pays off for that in spades. And our travelling concierge will be on hand to be able to guide our guests through and tell them all the history and culture of the place in a more in-depth way. But I can tell you, this is the most fun and entertaining way, but also knowing that you're giving your money towards something that absolutely is helping these women to have a proper business opportunity of their own and a real step up. So to me, that's one of my favorite Make Travel Matter experiences.
So special. Certainly something we all want to do. And Jen, over to you. One of your favorite experiences, please.
Well, actually, I'm going to talk about something that's new that we're going to be introducing in 2022 as a new Make Travel Matter experience.
I
So,
love it.
Brad, I don't
The
know if you
scoop.
know about this. This is and this is in a different part of the world. This is on our timeless Scandinavia journey in Stockholm. Our guests will now go to Fotografista, which, from the name of it, you can imagine there's photos involved. So Scandinavia has always been quite a leader in sustainability and eating within season. So this is a museum and a restaurant. The museum itself is the largest photography museum in the world. They work with local journalists, NGOs, artists. They have the artists manage all of their social media and to try and bring more information and visual examples of issues that are happening globally. So our guests will visit the museum and then afterwards they go to the restaurant, and the restaurant specializes in seasonal, sustainable, no waste dining. So it's the full package deal. And it's not just close or an issue that's only in Stockholm. To bring more attention to global issues about food waste, sustainability, as well as bigger issues for the global community. So we're really excited about this. The restaurant's actually placed right on the waterfront in Stockholm, so they'll get to sit by the water and enjoy their mostly vegetarian meal.
I love it. Immersing yourself in something so important in the museum and then having a chance to, of course, have some food to treasure and enjoy while you're there. It sounds like it's right up my alley. So,
Love
listen, team Jen and Claire, it's always such a pleasure to speak with you. You always make me want to travel immediately.
it.
Is there anything that you'd like to leave our audience with, just in final thoughts?
Jen, do you want to go first?
Well, I just think that luxury gold is at a great spot. We have these small groups now. We're only 20 guests on average, which is a really big difference in the level of service that we offer. We are so focused on all the details. We have these amazing traveling concierges that are there for our guests, and we miss our guests. The traveling concierges are writing me on a regular basis, asking me, are we ready yet? Are we ready yet? And we can't wait to get back out there. So I just really hope that we are where people go to choose their next travel journey.
I agree. And I think they certainly should, especially after everything that we've just talked about today. And over to you, Claire. Final words.
Look, I couldn't have said it better myself, Jen. We've been working tirelessly over the past 12 months to make sure that every single aspect of every single journey is absolutely perfect for you when you come back. We are absolutely ready to welcome our guests with loving arms. We are maybe not a hug, maybe a elbow instead of a hug, but we're so excited to welcome you back. We are curating more beautiful experiences every day to make sure that in the future we're better than we've ever been before, and we are just so ready. Come back, we're ready. Let's have fun.
Thank you, ladies. Your time is so precious, and we appreciate every last word. Thank you again.
Thanks,
Thanks
Brad.
so much, Brad.